In January of 2011, this young woman was found dead in the kitchen of her apartment with bruises on her body and 20 stab wounds, 10 of which were in the back of her head and neck. Now, shockingly, the coroner's office at the time listed her death as self inflicted, basically stating that she unalived herself. Now, what I find astonishing is the current DA refuses to recategorize her death as a homicide. This is crazy. This lovely young woman is 27-year-old Ellen Greenberg, a teacher in Philadelphia. Now, Ellen was gruesomely discovered dead in her kitchen on January 26th of 2011 with 20 stab wounds, including 10 from behind. Now, for the last 14 years, her parents, Dr. Josh and Sandy Greenberg, have been desperately fighting to get their daughter's cause of death listed as a homicide. And the reason for that is because, for some strange reason, the coroner's office decided to list her cause of death as self-inflicted. Now, there were multiple issues with the original investigation that I believe warrant the reclassification to homicide and to have the investigation reopened. Yet, despite that, the current DA just recently announced that there is not enough evidence to do so. So, what exactly are those issues? Well, first, let's talk about the obvious. How could she have stabbed herself so many times at the back of her head? I know most of us have a problem just reaching behind ourselves enough to scratch the middle of our back. And yet, interestingly, they believe that she was able to stab herself from behind 10 times. Now, initially, according to reports, the coroner at the time, a Dr. Marlon Osborne, listed the cause of her death as homicide, but later changed it to her unaliving herself. According to the family side, this change allegedly happened after the coroner spoke with the police. Now, also, according to the attorney for her parents, the knife found still in her chest has never been fingerprinted. And of course, they want it retrieved out of evidence storage and tested, because if there are fingerprints other than hers, then it points to a homicide. However, if there were also no prints, then it proves that someone had wiped the knife to remove any prints, so once again, it would suggest a homicide. What is interesting about the knife, though, is that when the police arrived, they found a white towel in her left hand. Now, I personally would think it odd that when someone is stabbing themselves 20 times, that they would be holding any type of towel in their hand. Next, we have in a Fox News interview Ellen's lifelong close friend, Erica Hamilton, stating that Ellen was always looking for the happily ever after kind of true love. She wanted to start a family. She loved kids. She was excited about getting married, and she was excited about having this new job. It seemed like everything was kind of setting into place for her. So at no time did I ever think that she was depressed or overly stressed that she was going to do something to hurt herself. She was happy. She was excited. So let's talk about the important evidence that warrants, in my opinion, the reopening of this investigation. You see, according to a Fox News article dated 10/14/2024, the building property manager, Melissa Ware, explained that back then, in a quote-unquote unnamed Philadelphia Police Department representative had advised her to call a third-party service to have the apartment thoroughly cleaned. So she did, and allegedly, the investigators did not arrive on the scene until after the cleanup. Interestingly, according to the article, there is no evidence in the record that Miss Ware, the unidentified cleaning service, or the Philadelphia Police Department representative were ever interviewed by investigating authorities. Now, that's odd to say the least. Now, As if that in itself is not enough to warrant a reopening of the investigation, according to the same article, the family's attorney, Joe Padraza, claims that items were also taken out of the apartment by her fiance's uncle, including Ellen's purse, 3 laptops, and 2 cell phones. Now, what I find extremely questionable about this is that this uncle, James Schwartzman, is considered a distinguished judge in Pennsylvania, and who also claims that police gave him permission to go in and take Ellen's belongings. Now, why would the police allow a non relative to enter a crime scene and take items that are without question evidence? Most compelling is the 911 call made by her fiance, Sam Goldberg, the person who first discovered Ellen's body. So let's listen to the call.
I just walked into my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere. I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. She's not responding.
Now here are the problems I see with the call he made. In the call, you can clearly hear him state that I just walked into my apartment. Now, the reason this is important is because he goes on to say that the door was latched. And what that reveals to me is that when he states that the door was latched, he was clearly referring to the upper door latch. Because as he states that this was his apartment, then he would have had a key to unlock the door lock. Hence, it makes perfect sense that he claimed that he could not enter the apartment because the upper latch was in use. However, according to the crime scene photo of the door, you can see how there is nothing to show that the door was broken into. After all, if you break down a door, there would be visible damage to the door frame. So how exactly did he break it down without causing any damage to the latch or to the door frame? Since he claimed on the 911 call that it was the latch that was preventing him from entering, then he would have only been able to break in if the latch was ripped out of the doorframe. Now, I've got to tell you that although I'm not trained within the specifics of crime investigations, I can credibly claim that these facts scream out for these grieving parents who have been fighting for almost 14 years to get this case reopened, to get the appropriate action from the DA's office. The handling of this case from the original coroner, the original Philadelphia Police Department investigators, and both the original and current DA's office is, in my opinion, nothing short of a travesty of justice for this young woman and her grieving parents. We can only hope that someone with the power to do so will get the DA to reopen this case and bring the truth to light for these parents, notwithstanding the fact that Ellen Greenberg deserves justice, if indeed she was the victim of such a brutal homicide. So what do you think about this case? Do you think that the DA was wrong for not reopening the case? Let me know what you think in the comments. And while you do that, please don't forget to punch that like button, share the video with others, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a new video. I would greatly appreciate it if you would also hit that subscribe button, as we all know how important that is for a channel to grow. For those of you who have already subscribed, I just want to again say thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. So as always, I'd just like to say, God bless you, and thanks so much for taking the time to listen. Until next time.